Barrister Yomi Ogunlla, who is a legal practitioner, rights activist, and social crusader. He joins us live from Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us at this time.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, all right. So this step that the judiciary has taken, what impact do you think the action would have on political and legal landscape of our country if the federal government goes ahead with its warnings?
Did you see I laugh? It's just one of those things, when old men decide to play some games. I laugh because, like my brother said earlier, I will be very happy to see Lateef Fagbemi putting governors who are covered by Section I think he's just trying to make disorder. The truth of the matter is this. A man erroneously plants an orange seed, and when it blossoms and germinates, it brings up oranges when he had intended to plant a mango seed. What do you then do if you are in such a situation? What the Nigerian government is doing is going on the trees and plucking off the oranges, applying chemicals to the stalks, and expecting mangoes to come there from. It's not possible. You must go to the root of the problem. And what I see as the root of the problem, it is a constitutional contradictions, or rather the constitutional contradictions. Those are the things they need to go after. For instance, Section 2, subsection 2 of the Constitution talks about the party to the federal system, that is the government and the states and Abuja. And then you go to Section 162, subsection 3, which talks about the sharing formula, and then it brings in the local governments. That is, the revenue accruing to the federation will be shared between the federal, the states, and of course, the local government. So you ask yourself, what exactly are we talking about? Are we in a federation of two parties, that is the states and the federal government, or a tripartite agreement where you have the federal government, the states, and the local government? If you go to Section 162, subsection 6 of the Constitution, it says that each state shall maintain special accounts to be called state joint local government account, into which shall be paid all allocations to the local government councils. And then Section 162, subsection 8 says the amount standing to the credit of local government councils of the states shall be distributed among the local government councils on such terms and in such manner as may be prescribed by the House of Assembly of that state. Now, go to Section 7, subsection 1, which guarantees democratically elected local government councils. It goes further to provide that the government of every state shall ensure the existence of local governments under a law that will provide for their establishment, for their structure, for their composition, for their finance, and for their functions. And of course, those functions, yes, will be determined in line with the fourth schedule to the Constitution. Section 7, subsection 6b provides that the House of Assembly shall make provisions for distributing statutory allocations of public revenue to local government councils within the state. So what are we talking about? They are a bundle of contradictions with the Supreme Court judgment. what should we do? The supremacy of the Constitution is guaranteed under the Constitution. Section 1, subsection 1 provides that its provisions shall have binding force on all authorities and persons throughout the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The Supreme Court of Nigeria
Barrister
inclusive.
Ogunlla. Okay,
Lateef
understood.
Fagbemi
But
inclusive.
we know that humans are creatures
Yes.
of habit, and it might be difficult for governors to relinquish the control they've had over local government assets for decades now. So what would be your advice to both parties, that is the state governors and even the federal government, to make sure that this is executed? Because we've always been having policy, but the action is always what's missing. So what would be your advice to both parties?
Thank you very much. You see, there is the other angle to the story. There is mutual suspicion. The states are suspecting the federal government of wanting to take control of the local government. All right? And of course, the federal government has come out and said, let the local government breathe. It is altruistic enough. It is good enough. But we must do the needful first. We have to go back to the ground norm and amend the Constitution to reflect what we want to do. Otherwise, we're just wasting time. Look at what has happened in Anambra, and many others will take after it. They have made a law now creating their own state joint local government account into which all of those revenues will become. And there are so many other provisions there that are inconsistent with what the Supreme Court decided and what Lateef Fagbemi is talking about. So we are going to continue to have problems, except we go back to the National Assembly and amend the ground norm to reflect what we want. Otherwise, it is just another charade, like my brother said.
All right, we really thank you so much for your vast contribution on our news at this time. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
All right, that's about Yomi. Ogunlla is a legal practitioner, rights activist, and social crusader who joined us live from Ibadan, Yoyo State Capital.